welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on Paramount Plus that loves to dive for sunken treasure. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge All-Stars Season 2, Episode 6, an episode filled with shocking and fun twists. I can't wait to start talking about them, but let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Tech and Melinda winning in the elimination against Tina and Steve, and coming back to the Challenge House. They're excited, they're celebrating their elimination wins, they're celebrating having the live shield, but also keeping together their alliance. Whether they're calling themselves the King's Palace, Three Kings and a Queen, or the Four Horsemen, whatever they're calling each other, they're excited that they keep themselves together heading into the next daily challenge and the rest of this episode. Now let's move on to a conversation between Tyler and Janelle, who go way back in their real-world Key West days, and they're talking, and Tyler is nervous because his name has come up for going into an elimination, and he knows that if his name keeps on getting put out there, it'll be sooner rather than later that he's going to be seeing an elimination. He's got to get his mind ready about going into elimination and when his name is called. We move on to the next day where we hear from Jasmine, who is very proud of the way she is playing this game. She has made it very far. She's playing a good game, and she's feeling like an all-star finally in this game. And also we see a conversation between Kendall and her family back home. She's talking to them, and she's talking about how this is a good reset, and it's motivating her to keep on going strong in this game. Seeing all of that right in the beginning of this episode lets me know that many of these players that we are seeing at the front of this episode will have something to do with the elimination, or maybe some of them will be getting into power later on in this episode, because we have not seen much confessionals up to this point from Kendall, Tyler, or Janelle, and we're getting a lot of them right in the beginning of this episode. But talking about eliminations and power and everything, that all deals with the daily challenge. So let's talk about this week's daily challenge as we meet up with TJ at a cenote, and for this daily challenge is going to be ran in pairs. So everybody pairs up, and what's interesting about this pairing up situation is when Tyler goes to get paired up with Casey, she is all for it until Kahutta comes in and asks to be her partner, and she drops Tyler like a sack of potatoes. And so Casey and Kahutta are going to be paired up with each other, and Tyler is left without a partner. So then he gets paired up with Jasmine, who didn't have a partner at the time. It's not the best way to start off your day and heading into a daily challenge. That you don't want that on your mind, but it's something that you have to just let it roll off your back and then get focused and try your best to win in this daily challenge to keep yourself safe. And this week's daily challenge is called Deep Dive, where we're going to have all the pairs jumping into a cenote and then having to retrieve puzzle pieces from treasure chests that are underneath the water. Once you collect all your puzzle pieces, you have to bring them up to shore and then put together a puzzle. It's going to be like a 3D skull puzzle. The quickest team that can put their puzzle together will win into the power, get to nominate 4 players to go into the house vote. With 16 players left in the game, we have 8 teams going. The first team up is the red team, which is Kendall and Laterian. And Kendall jumps into the water and she injures herself. She hits the water hard. She talks about how she has sore ribs and she can't really get her breath. She takes a little bit of time, she gets focused, she thinks about what her son would say to her about, like, I know you're scared, but keep on doing it, press forward, and she does it. And I have to say that I love Kendall. I loved her last season, and this season, she just shows how much strength, how much toughness, how much tenacity. I mean, even with all the pain that she is dealing with, she takes care of business, she gets all of her puzzle pieces, she helps put this puzzle together, and they lock in a good time. Then we move on to the blue team, which is Tyler and Jasmine, and we already can tell that they are going to have the long time, that they are going to be the ones being sent into the elimination and the last place team, as everybody's having a confession about how long they are taking, how long it is taking them to put this puzzle together. So you already can have an idea of who's going to be sent into the elimination, and that is going to be the blue team. Then we move on to a series of teams that actually do very well. We have the pink team of Melinda and Nehemiah, who do very well together. We move on to the green team of Jody and Brad, and they absolutely crush it, alongside Casey and Kahutta, who do a great job, as well as Kahutta is being set up to be a puzzle master as he puts together this goal very easily. And then the orange team, there is a bit of a hiccup at the beginning of their run when Ayana jumps in. Tech just jumps in right after her and falls right on her head. All the other teams let their partners jump in, let them swim for a little bit, and then they jumped in. Tech got too anxious and jumped in right after Ayana and jumped right on her head. Luckily, everybody is okay, and everybody is able to finish this. Thankfully, I'm so happy that Ayana was okay. And then we have the white team of Darrell and Janelle doing well, and light blue team of MJ and Janae crushing it. So everybody finishes this challenge. Everybody does a good job, except for maybe the blue team. But once everybody is done and has their times clocked, everybody is standing there waiting for the results when TJ decides to ask him like a harmless question, right? He says, how does everybody like their partnership? Did you like working in pairs? And there's a good amount of positivity saying like, yeah, I like my partners. And that's when TJ drops the bomb on him saying, well, if you liked all your partners, then you wouldn't mind being paired up with everybody from here on out, right? Because this game now has changed formats from being like a free agents to now being a paired season, and everybody is shocked. Majority of the players like their teammate. Like we have Kendall and Tyrion talking in the confessionals about how they like being partnered up with each other. Jody and Brad are stoked to be partnered up with each other. Now Tech talked about how Ayana is kind of like a wild card, and hopefully that they can work well together in this game. He's very excited to be partnered up with her, but he also is worried that if she flies off the handlebars, that it could be bad for their game. And then we have MJ and Janae, who have work together on multiple daily challenges together, so you know that they're going to be cool with each other. Darrell and Janelle will be happy with each other. The only team that really is sour with their partnership, it seems like, is Tyler and Jasmine, where Tyler is not that happy to be partnered up with Jasmine. And on top of that, it is announced that they came in last place for this daily challenge, meaning they're going to get sent directly into the elimination. Now, TJ has the results on who won this, and it comes down to seconds between two teams, and that is Darrell and Janelle and Brad and Jody. So the King's Palace is already at a pretty big disadvantage as the two teams are working with each other. So it doesn't really matter who wins this, as they're going to be safe and their side of the house is going to be safe. And Jody and Brad pull this win out. Jody gets yet another daily challenge win, and we are moving back to the house where Kahut is a bit confused on how the life shields will work now that everybody's in pairs. And John A helps to clarify this, that if somebody uses their life shield on one person, then that one person and their teammate will be safe. So let's say that Casey and Kahut are put up for nominations. Melinda, who has a life shield, comes over and wants to save Casey. Now Casey and Kahut are completely off the board, and the power duo will have to nominate a completely new team up there. First of all, I love this twist of putting them into pairs. I think they've gotten enough time to get to know each other throughout this game and get to work with each other in big groups and in pairs and solo-wise to know exactly how everybody will click in daily challenges. To up to this point, we hit the halfway mark. Now let's do a format change and let everybody pair up with whoever they want to pair up. Let's solidify them into this pairs situation. And now the life shield isn't as broken as it could be, because yes, people are still going to burn the life shields, but it's not going to be like, oh, if Nehemiah is going to be put in and he has a life shield, we'll just take him out and then I'll put Tech in, his alliance member. Now, majority of the alliance members are paired up with each other, so if you save one, you save both. I like this twist being put into the game right now, and also it adds some depth of strategy, and it's not overly complex to make everybody like confused on how everything works. I can't wait to see how the gameplay evolves as we move closer and closer to the finals. But now let's move over to the nominations, where we have Brad and Jody looking at the name board, and their first priority is to burn the life shield. So they automatically put up Nehemiah and Melinda, Tech and Ayana, and then they bring over Melinda and Tech, and they obviously use the life shield on themselves. So the board is completely wipe free. They also don't have votes heading into the nomination ceremony. So now the new names on the board are Kendall and Latyrian, MJ and John A, where Brad is wanting to put all the votes on Latyrian and Kendall. He says that he doesn't have any connections with them, which he really doesn't. He hasn't played with either one of those players before in past challenge seasons, and so coming into this challenge season, he's like, we're just gonna throw them into the elimination, and MJ and John A don't have anything to worry about because we hold all the votes. After the nominations, we move on to Kendall, who is in her bed and she is looking distraught. She's holding her abdominal region and she talks about how she has a connective tissue disorder and that it's been very hard to breathe ever since she came back from the daily challenge. It's hard to get a very deep breath. She thinks that there's something wrong with her rib. She's nervous to go to the hospital because she doesn't want to be DQ'd or pulled from the season. But Casey and Jasmine tell her to just go to the hospital, that if there's nothing wrong, then she has nothing to worry about. But if there is something that needs to be taken care of, at least they can take care of it. Latyrian is worried for Kendall on a personal level and a friendly level, not so much game-wise. He couldn't care less about this game at this point. He just worries for Kendall's well-being at this point, which I really enjoyed hearing that from Latyrian, because I know he is a game player. He wants to win. He wants to do his best. But when it comes down to it, the game is nothing. It's all about the friends and the people that you make along in this game that are what make this game the game. We move on to the house vote, where everything is pretty much set in stone. Majority of the King's Palace do not have a vote. Latyrian knows that he's up against MJ and Jonna, who are very well connected, and Latyrian knows he's going to be going into the elimination regardless. And he's right. The vote comes down to 3-1, where that one vote to keep Latyrian and Kendall came from Darrell. He burns his vote on MJ and Jonna because he can't vote against Road Ruler alumni. I think it mainly goes back to his relationship and history with Kendall. Latyrian and Kendall are now the matchups to go up against Tyler and Jasmine in this week's elimination. But before we get there, we have Jasmine packing up, talking to Jonna about how she's gone up against some very heavy hitters in challenge history, in eliminations, and she knows that she is fighting an uphill battle and going up against a very strong competitor in Kendall. And she's a little nervous, but she wants this win. She wants to make it further into the season and finally make the finals and really put that final pin in her challenge book. Now, speaking of elimination, everybody gets ready, heads down to the arena to meet up with TJ, and that's when TJ calls in Tyler and Jasmine to join him on the arena floor, and then he calls in Latyrian and Kendall to join him on the arena floor. However, Latyrian is the only person to come into the arena. Kendall is nowhere to be seen. Come to find out, Kendall went to the hospital, got checked out, and she was medically disqualified. She is unable to compete further in this challenge season. My heart is broken because coming into the season, I wanted to see Kendall go all the way. I wanted to see her get all the way to the finals, and I think she would have had a great shot of making it farther and possibly getting that first place. It was heartbreaking to see her go out so close to the finals last season, and then now for her to be medically DQ'd from this season is just as heartbreaking. I wanted to see her go very, very far, and she was doing a great job in this game. But with that news that Kendall was medically disqualified and is no longer in the game, that means that there will be no women's elimination for this episode, meaning Jasmine is in the clear. She is not going into an elimination. Now she's just waiting for the results, whether she's going to stay with her partner, Tyler, or get her new partner, Latyrian. So Jasmine is now waiting to see the results of who's going to win this week's elimination, called Pole Wrestle. It's a headbanger, everybody, and is best 2 out of 3. Just wrestle the pole away from your opponent, and I think Latyrian's coming into this elimination with a huge advantage because he just did this elimination last season against Ace. However, Tyler is a much more formidable opponent than Ace. You would think coming into this elimination that Latyrian won't be able to just fling Tyler around like a ragdoll like he did with Ace last season. But coming into this matchup, Latyrian does a fantastic job. Both men are giving it their all. Both are exhausting themselves, but over and over and over again, Latyrian is just flinging Tyler all around, and there's points where I was like, oh, Latyrian's got this. Then another scene happens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Tyler has this. This was a well-fought battle. Both men gave it their all, and Latyrian wins this 2-0, but they went more than 2 rounds, as there was a few rounds that went out of bounds, and they had to reset, so both men were going over and over and over again, giving it their all. It was a very tough battle. And even in the midst of this battle, after it was done, Tyler had to get his hand looked at and he had to get it wrapped. And we saw it at the end that he had his arm hurt. So he was put through the ringer. He said in the house vote that he feels like he's going to be sore the next day. And he is. He's going to be sore right afterwards and the next day, but Tyler did a great job this season. I was hoping that he was going to make it farther as well, but Tyler is eliminated. Laterian gets to stay in this game. Laterian is pumped. He gets a life shield, he has a new partner in Jasmine, and the King's Palace, 3 kings and a queen, the 4 horsemen, the Knights of the Round Table, they're all intact heading to the next episode, and Laterian and Jasmine have got to be so excited because not only are they safe now, but they have the life shield, so they're going to be safe for episode 7, and they're going to be having a ticket to episode 8. And not only that, but Jasmine is excited to be partnered up with Laterian, and Laterian is excited to be partnered up with Jasmine, especially because last episode during the trampoline bounce back daily challenge, Jasmine showed a ton of heart, and that's all Laterian wants out of a partner, is someone who won't give up and somebody who is going to give all they can to win a daily challenge, and that's all he could ask for. And so he's excited to be paired up with Jasmine. I think this is a great duo, a great team up. I really like this elimination, but how can you go wrong on a pole wrestle, really? I like the daily challenge. I mean, can I just say that All-Stars is just hitting it on every single level, and I can't wait for more. It's just that every episode that we get, I know we're inching closer and closer to the end, and I really don't want this season to end. But what'd you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What'd you think about the daily challenge? What'd you think about the elimination, the matchup eliminations of Laterian and Tyler? What'd you think about Brad and Jody winning and their decisions to throw in who they did? Let me know that down in the comment section below. Also, what do you think about this twist of putting everybody in pairs midway through this season? What do you think about that format twist? I personally love it. And are you sad to see Kendall and Tyler leave this game? I know I am. Let me know anything and everything you thought about this episode down in the comment section below. I'll be back very, very soon with more Challenge All-Star content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.